Hello, ladies, gentlemen, and non-binary fans, and welcome back to the Risen Divine League podcast. We're going into week number 5 as we take a look back at week number 4 and what's shaken out in all of the divisions. It's Joker again here, and I've got Ibram and JuiceBoxGuy joining me again for the podcast. Gentlemen, how have you guys been? Are you ready? Are you ready for week number 5?
Oh hell yeah, man! And Ibram up top for week 5, my guy.
Let's
Let's
go,
do
There we
man.
this. Let's
go.
do this right.
Ooh, that's definitely not the second take.
So, as we said, coming into week number 5 here, talking about the Risen Divine League and what we've seen. So we did stream a couple matches here. Obviously, we have the Excellency Esports stream as well as the Risen Esports stream. And the two matches we saw this week were pretty one-sided for on both streams. The Risen Esports stream, we did see World Class Esports taking on the Manitoba Bisons, and that was a 2-0 for World Class. And over on the Excellency stream, we saw the Striking Vipers High Table take on Aqualix Esports, and that was another big 2-0 for Aqualix taking down the Vipers. So first, let's touch on these two matches as they were streamed. We do have the more information on these two. Let's start with our stream that we did here on the Excellency Esports page, which was Aqualix versus Striking Vipers. And you two were actually calling this match. You were in the heat of it, in the thick of it. Tell me about it. What you saw, what you expected, if you thought it was going to be that 2-0 or if you thought something else was going to happen.
All right. Well, first off, let's just say this. So you said it was a big 2-0, but this was not a big surprise for anyone. In fact, it would have been a shocker if it was even a 2-1 because Aqualix is just looking like such a high quality team. Maybe the best in the league. And when you have a game like that, it's really hard to get it super hyped up for everybody because the question isn't who's going to win. The question is how hard is this team going to win by? And that's just kind of a hard sell in general.
Yeah, Alex came in as the favorites. We kind of all knew that. I believe they took some of their picks from the crowd. The Poppy support and the Caitlyn mid were like from the Twitch chat. So they came in with lots of flair, and I guess it worked out. There was at one point like where they seemed like they could maybe drop the second game, but they just came back and won. It didn't seem to matter at all.
Yeah, game number 2 was definitely feeling like it was their composition was not as good, but because they had the better individual players, they were still able to come out on top. They were able to turn things around in the team fights, and that's really what turned things around. I do want to say we did have that Poppy support, and we kind of talked about it a lot. But I think the common consensus, at least what it feels like to me, is that in that specific instance, the Poppy support was not bad. There were a lot of dashes available so that Poppy could use the steadfast presence and make sure that those were stopped and could provide a bit more crowd control and a bit more of the team fight presence that Poppy is known for.
Yeah, I'll take some heat for that one as well because it was me and my friend talking in Switch chat about how Poppy support could be a great pick here, and honestly, it was a great pick in that situation. I'm super happy that they picked it because it seemed to work out for them as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't know. The problem is even taking away and disregarding the super intelligent pick in the Poppy, which granted she's not like a super high tier support right now. As a support main, you got to think that I would know that. But what she is one of those super niche champions where in very certain situations she can be completely dominant in any sort of game, right? And you start bringing out a lot of the champions like what were dropped in this game that have those dashes. What do you even do at that point? You just kind of, I don't know, you just hope that he's really slow with the W, because if he's not, the game is basically over if he can hit those, especially with a team that works as well as they do in unison as Aqualix does.
Yeah,
You
and
just have to bait it out, I guess. But other than that, there's really not much of an option to do.
yeah, and it's very hard to bait out that steadfast presence,
Yeah.
especially if you're just using the one dash. Now, if you do have multiples and you can afford to give one up, that's a possibility. But we didn't really see it happen, and that really made it so that Aqualix could walk away there with the game, and then going into game number two, they kind of trolled a little bit. But like I said, they had the better individual players over Striking Viper, and they came back in those micro-oriented team fights.
Yeah, and that's kind of like it's like even if you do get a okay, so actually before we even get into the second match, which I know we haven't touched on it yet, Aqualix literally feels like if he took Manitoba Bisons and pumped a ton of steroids into them and then just sent them off to, I don't know, beat the crap out of the rest of the league. Because the thing is from a basic standpoint, they both have somewhat similar play styles, right? They both like to kind of wait for a while, scale up, and then win those big team fights, and do it with champions that are good at that mid-late game team fighting. But the problem with Aqualix or with Manitoba Bisons as opposed to Aqualix is their early game for the Bisons is very suspect. It's like with the Aqualix, you're trying to find a time to fight them, right? You're trying to find a point in the game where they might be vulnerable. Well, we haven't found it yet, because even when you do contest them in the early game, they're good. If they do fall behind, they're gonna wrestle the lead back from you, and B, they're probably not gonna fall behind anyway, because they're also really, really good at early game fighting and scrapping. So I don't know. It's like even when you do get these micro advantages over Aqualix, you still don't beat opinion until you have them beat. So yeah, they got some really cool advantages. It was kind of exciting, but it was more like, I don't know. It felt like a saw trap where they just delayed the inevitable, but they still, got offed in the end anyway.
Yeah, that is kind of the unfortunate thing about that, but that's a good thing there for Aqualix, because now it does set them up 4-0 in division number 2, and we'll touch on all of the divisions again, records and potential playoff implications as well here in a few minutes. But let's go ahead and then go back over to the other streamed match to touch on it, and that was World Class Esports taking on the Manitoba Bisons there in that series that was on the Divine League stream. 2-0 for World Class. And it looks like it really came off of the back of some really good team playing, but also World Class's jungler. Game number 1 going off on the Kazakhs, going 6-2-6, just being an absolute nuisance in the jungle.
Yeah, I mean, World Class, their junglers, Yes Hi, It's Me. I'm pretty sure that player that was, or was it Fisher Friends? I can't quite remember.
It was Yes Hi, It's Me this week.
Yeah, I remember watching that game, and it's just when you pick something like Kazakhs. Honestly, in a way, the best way to kind of deal with that pick is just to sit back and not put yourself in situations where you could die, right? Because that's how Kazakhs gets ahead. If he doesn't get those early kills, if he enters 24 minutes at 0-0-1 or whatever, not really going to be that useful. But it just felt like Manitoba Bisons played right into World Class's win condition on that one. And it was just... That one didn't feel as doomed, because I feel like these two teams are fairly evenly matched. But Manitoba Bisons, like I was saying with the Aqualix thing, is they have such a glaring weakness, which is that early game. They don't make the best decisions, and that's exactly what World Class capitalized on. So, I mean, it was just... I don't know. It was just kind of a foregone conclusion. If you can get Manitoba Bisons down early, they're not the best team at getting back.
And it is...
Go ahead.
Looking
at that second game, and it's that Samira pick, man. They give it to Asherwat. We all have our own thoughts about Samira. It's something. It's something for sure. You can't just give it up like that, and you always gotta have a plan if you're giving it up.
Yeah, it looks like actually here in the
Oh
world.
wait, no,
Yeah,
that is completely wrong. I was looking at the wrong game there. I was like, wait, why is that for that one?
yeah,
Sorry.
that is from a separate game. Yeah, no worries, no
Yeah.
worries.
But no, for the second game, then I had the talking about the bot lane there for Where's Osama and Fly. We kind of touched upon them when we had them play against Indiana University earlier in the season. I'm a big fan of this bot lane. I think Where's Osama is a really good carry that can continue to be a carry if his support continues to be a really good support. Uh, so this duo right here is pretty good, and I'm excited to see what they can do.
Yeah, where is Osama busting out the vein? Went 6-2-4, alongside the Fly on the Janna. So it looked like world class there. Their composition in game number 2 was a kind of a hybrid of a dive composition, but also the protect the vein. There was the ability to dive in with the Hecarim and the Shen that they had. Shen top, Hecarim jungle. They also had the Ziggs in the mid there for the over the top damage. Coming through, a lot of wave clear as well. So they had this kind of hybrid composition of they could play around whoever their carry was going to, or who was going to be, whoever really stood out between the Vayne and between the Hecarim. And the Ziggs, let's get physical, doing pretty well on his own. 3-3-8. So with a lot of CS, had almost a majority of his team's damage, 28% over the course of the game. Which compared to the other carries was quite a bit. So, Let's Get Physical was saying, hey, I'm still a part of this. I could still do some work and throwing that damage over the top in the fights.
Yeah, and you're right. Like they drafted around being able to work around whatever player was popping off. That's really cool. And Let's Get Physical is a really good mid laner. I don't hold anything against him. What I don't understand is why are you not banning Yuumi from this team? That's my question. I haven't really seen Fly have he's had fine performances on some other champions, but you can't give this guy Yuumi. I'm still sus on this dude. But please, God, someone ban that champion away.
They did ban it in that game against Janna, and he had to pick the Janna, but I guess it wasn't enough for you, my guy.
Yeah,
Gabe. I know. I just hate him. Well, I don't hate him. I don't hate him. That was wrong. I hate him on these certain picks, right? Like, I feel like if you take like a Pike or someone like that into that bot lane, you're probably gonna have a good time. And I feel like if you're playing against, that particular duo, rather, just pick something that can fight early, and you should be okay.
Yeah, and unfortunately, in game 1, they did pick a lot of mid to late game. They had the early game presence in the Graves, but it got completely overrun by the Kazakhs. He went 2-5-4, just didn't have any presence. And then for Manitoba, again in game number 2, they picked this mid late game scaling with a little bit of early game in the Volibear. But again, Snarfles goes 2-5-4, doesn't really have much of a presence. And to your point, JuiceBox, yeah, I definitely do think the Bisons, they have a strong team. They have a good team if they learn how to play early. If they can learn how to play these early compositions where they don't have to wait until 25, 30, 40 minutes to be able to do anything. And that just seems to be a drafting issue for the Bisons. Maybe that's what they're comfortable with. But other teams are playing early, playing aggressive, and they're really starting to shut the Bisons down.
Before we move on to next, I just want to take a moment of silence that now 25 minutes is our late game. So yeah, just feels like just a few weeks ago we were talking about 40-minute games, but those have been a long gone conclusion in the league community.
Yeah, especially as we will transition eventually into preseason, we'll see those with the new items.
No.
We'll see the times dip
Look,
Everything
even
looks
more
scary,
again.
man. Everything looks good.
I don't want to think about it. That's the same as Cloud9 for NA. I don't want to think about it. Out of sight, out of mind.
Juice, stop it.
All right, so we won't think about it. We won't talk about preseason. We will go ahead and move on, though, to our first of the off-stream games that happened here in week number 4, and that is going to be IU taking on Gothboy Click. And this was a 2-1 here in favor of the Gothboy Click. IU just, again, unfortunately, not able to really seemingly make anything happen in the early game once again. They're another one of these teams that kind of struggle to draft early aggressive compositions or play around them. The Terrians, they did have a decent early game here for IU. You have a Graves and you have Misfortune who can play fairly aggressive. Shen can also do well in the top lane when he's given the right matchup and given the right presence. But the Terrians went 0-6-7 throughout the game on the Graves, just not really putting any pressure or providing anything for his team. And that seemed to be one of the major downfalls.
All right,
Sorry, you go.
No. I was just gonna say I actually have a call I have to take for work really quick, but I'll be back in like 5 minutes. That is my bad.
No worries, no worries.
Yeah, so
yeah, you guys break this down good.
IU have been like losing every single one of their games, I believe, with 2-1, 2-1 score lines. Other than the very first win they had, every single one of their losses has been a 2-1 loss. So it just feels like they're always on the edge, and they just need a little bit of a pump to like get through it. But it might just be too late with how they're playing, because this group is looking a bit tougher and tougher for them. They would need to get 2 more wins. They need to win out to actually take it together. Actually, is Manitoba playing Gothboy Click?
With Manitoba playing Gothboy, yeah.
So one of them has to win, of course.
Yeah, so IU would need to win out and a couple of like key losses in order to force that 3-way or maybe even 4-way tie at 3-3, and we can touch on that when we break down the divisions again. Break down the divisions here in a little bit, but now to your point, yeah, they are struggling early. Like I said in the week 1 podcast, it just seems like IU is playing like TSM light. Or TSM collegiate, in the fact that they have some decent players, some good players, and somebody, people that could play around King Jeebus seems to be like he can hold down that rock in the mid lane, but they just struggled to actually make something happen early on. They play very passively, waiting for a mid to late game team fight. But by that point, they're behind, and they're just not really able to make anything work.
Yeah, it just seems like even when they do get an early lead, sometimes they're able to capitalize on it. Sometimes it just kind of goes through the winds. And I don't know. It just feels really bad to see a team lose 2-1, 2-1, 2-1 week after week. Because they're good enough to keep it going. They can beat the other team, but they're just not able to connect it all together.
Yeah, no, they're not. Unfortunately, we'll keep an eye on them, and we'll talk about this when we break down the divisions. But IU still have a chance for the playoffs, but they need some key losses from the other teams in their division in order to have a tiebreaker scenario. We'll move on here to the next of our off-stream matches. It is going to be Glaive Amethyst taking on Northwood University, taking the place of Mad City. And Glaive Amethyst, once again, dominant in their games, 2-0 over Northwood. And really, it was it was a well played team balance effort from Glaive Amethyst, and something that just Northwood seems to be struggling with just a little bit in terms of bringing their team together and making things happen and drafting around their proper win cons or their strong players.
Yeah, they came in the first game and they completely demolished. I mean, everybody was doing great on their end. Klong Krong Zong wasn't having one of his better days, but that's all right. He still got the job done. Um, and then the second game is actually really interesting. Their second game, it went to 40 minutes. It was a win for them as well, but it was super super close. And I believe it was Klong not having a great second game, as well as a little bit combined with Northwood just kind of going through their mid lane jungle duo, who did have a great second game. And the thing is, though, Glaive, this is where like better teams come through, and when better teams come through, they're able to win that late game. They're able to stretch it out and make the game theirs. And I think that's just what Glaive just did. I mean, they won the game with like a 60, yes, no, a 21 goal differential. That at 21, not 21,000, not 2,000, 21, just 21 golds more than the enemy team. It was really really close, and but they got the job done.
Yeah, and you could definitely say, like you said, Clunk not having a great game, went 6-11-6 on the Silas in the top lane, was picked on a lot. But then Yule in the mid lane playing the Yone, which made its way through. Didn't see banned in game number 1, banned or picked, but decided to pull it out here for game number 2, went 12-5-7. So knowing that you have this melee assassin who is, it can be very very hard to beat, has a lot of slipperiness, has a lot of damage just built into his kit, and a great team fight around him. Very very hard to deal with somebody like a Yone. And it just seemed like Northwood going into the mid to late game was difficult for them to do. It was hard for them to figure out how they take care of this Yone, how they get rid of him in team fights, because he came in and put on a clinic in terms of damage, in terms of CS. Had a 32% of his team's damage throughout that game. 352 CS, which was the highest in the game by far. So this man knew he had to put his team in the backpack and did it. And that's not something we can really see. We see a lot from players in this kind of league, is somebody who says, all right, fine, we're struggling, we're having a tough time, but I'm ahead, I'm farming well, I've got 2, 3, 4 items at this point. All right, we're playing behind me, let's go. And then doing everything in their power to win the team fights and push the team forward. We don't see a lot of that, but Yule did it in this game, and I think that's what pulled Glaive Amethyst through.
Yeah, Glaive Amethyst just got the job done. They're a really great team. We should be expecting them with a Qualix in the playoffs, but we shall see.
That we shall. Let's go ahead and move on now to our to the next off-stream game. Soulbound Mirage taking on Glacial Esports, and it was another 2-0 for Soulbound as they move themselves a little bit further ahead, and they are really putting a distance between them and their second place team in Division 3. Soulbound have not dropped a game at all, or dropped a series at all this year. They've only dropped, looks like, one game, and that was to Lost Collective in week number 2 when they were still trying to get their bearings underneath them. But yeah, this week 2-0, 2-0 in some pretty decently quick games. A 26-minute there in game 1, and just over 31 minutes in game number 2. And really behind the back of this jungle mid duo synergy, Wentel and the Havoc playing out of their minds. Game number 1, Wentel goes 8-2-9 on Gragas. Havoc busts out the Z and goes 8-3-3. Game number 2, it's a Nidalee LeBlanc combo. 8-4-10 for Wentel, 8-4-6 for the Havoc. I mean, when you can't shut down a jungle mid synergy duo like these two, you're gonna have a bad time.
Yeah, it was just complete control from Soulbound. We've come to expect that out of them. We've come to expect that they will just cruise through regular season, and let's see what they do in the actual playoffs. But I mean, they've just been they've just been a joy to watch. This team is so good. I actually still have good hopes for Glacial. I think they can be one of the teams to make it as well, but they couldn't really pull it off this time. And honestly, you just feel bad for anybody versing Soulbound at this point. Every one of them seems super good.
Yeah, and we actually did see a Yone ban from Glacial Esports in both games. So some of the players starting to pick up Yone and really get comfortable with him. We haven't seen a lot of him. Obviously, he's not available at Worlds right now, but even some of these other leagues, like the Divine League and some of these other amateur leagues, not a lot of teams picking up the Yone. So to see teams here in the Divine League pick up Yone or have it banned against them, it's a pretty telling sign that this champion is starting to get figured out.
JuiceBox coming just in time for us to talk about Soulbound, and we just finished up on them. JuiceBox, anything you want to say about Soulbound Mirage, your favorite team?
My favorite team, Soulbound Mirage. Yeah, I mean, I think they're a really good squad. I think they kind of got lucky in this division, honestly, because Glacial Esports and Akuma Claymores have both underwhelmed pretty hard. And while Lost Collective has every little thing in place to be a dominant squad in this league, they are 0-4. They're 0-4. This should be a Soulbound Mirage versus Lost Collective race. But Lost Collective never even showed up really to the competition here. Just got lost on the way. So yeah, I don't know, man. I think they are a really good team, but I wonder how they would do in some of these other divisions.
And that's really the thing to think about with Lost Collective. Every game of theirs has been every series has been a 2-1 loss, and you got to think in some of those games, some of those losses, things team fight goes a different way. They play the macro a bit differently. Maybe they get some different objectives, or they don't lose certain fights. They could easily be 3-0, 4-0, or 3-1, 4-0. Just off of a couple different team fights. You see it every time you see Lost Collective. You think, yeah, maybe they've got this team. They've got the ability, and something's just not clicking. Something's just not coming together, and it's just super unfortunate.
Mm-hmm. And just wanted to say something real quick. We were all lushing over the Poppy support earlier. That wasn't actually from Aqualix and Striking Vipers game. That was from the Soulbound game in week 3.
That's right.
Our memories so connected to Soulbound.
You incepted me. You literally changed my memories.
Joker was coming in and saying it was such a great pick, and I'm like, yes, it was.
I was like, yeah, I was right there with you. I was like, this pick is genius. But at the back of my head, there was that nagging doubt. It was like, I feel like Soulbound wasn't this week, because Aqualix versus Soulbound doesn't make sense in my head, but I never put it together. Anyway,
well, that is my mistake then. But let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and move on to our next matchup. The Akuma. It looks like it's Akuma Katanas. It's Akuma Claymores. This one, the Katanas will come up later. Akuma Claymores taking on Lost Collective. And yeah, once again, Lost Collective going 2-0, losing 2-1. The Claymores, starting to find their footing, getting things back underneath them. This is a good bounce back game series from the Claymores. Definitely things that they need to clean up. It wasn't a pretty series, but it was good enough for them to at least get their footing underneath them and feel like they've got the opportunity, they've got the shot to get that second place and get to playoffs.
If I may step in here and just say, I still don't have much belief in the Claymores. Again, this should be a walk in the park for them. This is Lost Collective, who we still think is a good team.
Hey, man, they're a great team for 1 out of 3 games.
Yeah. I'm just saying that there really should be a good team, but Akuma Claymores, I don't think they've got their footing back under them at all. Like, they were able to win the first game handily, and then they get really stomped in the second game, and then the third game turns into a 37-minute bloodbath. So I don't know. It's gonna take some more for me to put some faith behind Akuma Claymores, man.
All right, here's what I'm gonna say about Claymores. Right now, they have 2 wins. Both of those wins are against Lost Collective.
Mm-hmm.
So I like in their head-to-head matchup against Glacial, which is the other team that they're competing with to get out of this group. They've
Yeah,
already
that's
lost
huge.
the first one. So I agree with you. I think that I think Akuma Claymores have got to be the most how do I say this? Like underwhelming good team.
Honestly, that should be like one of our stream games this week. The Akuma Claymores versus Glacial game. That
Oh
should
yeah.
be our stream game.
Yeah.
I believe that will basically say who's getting. Yeah, that does say who's getting to the playoffs and who's getting
Pretty
left
much.
behind.
Yeah. Yeah, because they're both 2-2, and this would be pretty big for Glacial and Akuma, whichever team can get that. Because let's see here let's see. I'm trying to find Glacial and Akuma in previous matchups, but it will be Glacial.
Yeah, Akuma lost
yeah.
to Glacial earlier in like the second week.
That's right. There it is. Yeah, Akuma lost to Glacial Esports 2-1, and so if Glacial Esports picks up another win, that has their second place secured. If the Claymores pick up the win, then we get a tiebreaker situation.
Well,
And the thing is, as
with
well,
luck.
yeah, week 6 as well. Akuma's playing Soulbound, and that's probably
Yeah.
not gonna go
Yeah.
their way. And Glacial's taking on Lost Collective. So this game right here, if there's anything Akuma needs to do, is they need to win this one because that's it for them. I don't think they have any other chance if they don't win this one.
I have a sneaking suspicion that Lost Collective is the spoiler team. You know what I mean?
They're
Like,
gonna come in and destroy
they're gonna-
Glacial in the last week.
yeah, they're gonna be like, I didn't make it, so I'm taking you with me.
I mean, you need to fear the man who has nothing to lose, or the team
Absolutely.
in this case who has nothing to lose. Lost Collective
Just to
can't make
put
the
it into
playoffs.
perspective- Yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna say the collective can't make the playoffs, but that doesn't mean that they can't ruin somebody else's playoff run, and it's gonna be between them and them trying to put the kibosh on the Glacial Esports there in week 6, because next week they take on Soulbound Mirage. So Lost Collective probably not gonna win that one, but the week 6 is where they have the opportunity to spoil Glacial Esports' Cinderella run to the playoffs.
And just to put into perspective, Lost Collective have lost every single one of their games. Yes, they have all been 2-1s as well,
Yeah.
including against Soulbound. That was the only game that Soulbound has lost this entire season. It was against Lost Collective. So
Hey, man.
I don't know, man. I'm so sad that they don't have a win right now. I'm so sad.
Like I said, 1 out of 3 games, they look incredible.
The best 0-4 team in the league.
Dude, okay, so here's what's tragic. Okay, you know what's tragic about Lost Collective is I don't know if they would have gotten out of any other groups because of how, coin flippy they are. But
True.
across all the divisions, I think they beat, like, of the bottom 8 teams, I think they beat basically all 8 of them. Like I think their high points are so much better than all 8 of the bottom 8 teams have shown so far.
They'd have a hard time against teams like maybe like Manitoba or Striking Vipers, but you could definitely say they can do it.
So, okay, I actually consider, even though I think Gothboy Click has the head-to-head against Manitoba, I still think I put more stock in Manitoba over Gothboy Click.
Oh no, dude, no.
Oh, okay.
No.
So I'm
We'll
gonna
talk about that one
yeah,
later.
I'm a pop a pin in this one because we will come back to this when we can take a look here at the actual at all of the divisions and make our predictions or debate on who's gonna make it out. We'll move on here to the next matchup. Should be it should actually have been Conviction taking on Aquinas. However, Aquinas forfeited their match. So Conviction won that one by a technicality of 2-0.
What a game!
Yeah, what a series. But that puts Conviction tied 3-1 with Omega Gaming Silence there at the top of Division 4. So that's going to be an interesting race to watch, and we'll touch on that in just a moment. Our last game of the week is Omega Gaming Silence taking on the Akuma Katanas. And I can see, I see your face, Juicebox, and your face tells it all. The Katanas take the series 2-0 against the top team in that division. And I mean, Juicebox, obviously, Juicebox Guy, you've got some thoughts on this.
Yeah, what were they doing? That's my thoughts on it. I mean, it was like, okay, look, I guess, I don't know if this is true, but I guess the Halberds aren't in this league anymore. And so they got replaced with the Katanas. So there's one bad thing when that happens, which is there's no real film to watch on your opposing squad, right? Like, there's no way to tell what they're planning, what their play style is, or anything like that. But you still put up a fight. Like, you are gonna lose. Don't just roll over and, you know, die in darkness. Like, you gotta try. So I know they tried their best, but it just felt like a team like, you know, Omega Gaming Silence has been such a dominant squad from the get-go. They've been so good, and then they just go up against the Katanas and roll over, basically. Like, it honestly, once a few things didn't go their way, they were just kind of like, it just felt like they were playing not to lose.
So I want to say, I feel like Omega Gaming was probably not ready for some of these picks that the Katanas pulled out in game number 1. They went with the Senna Shen bot lane, which is a very, very passive bottom lane. Like, you are not winning that lane hard on your own. And especially up against a Caitlyn Nautilus, that bottom half of the map should be for Omega Gaming Silence every day of the week. And yet somehow, both Diox and Soli only died 3 times combined throughout the match. Somehow Omega Gaming Silence did not actually pressure that bottom lane and allow this Caitlyn to abuse her range, abuse the laning phase she has to move into a more solid mid game. And another problem is that they have this strong bottom lane. They had the Nidalee in the jungle, but their solo lanes will struggle in the early game. Omega picked the Gangplank and the Zillion, 2 champs that struggle in laning phase, and they were up against a Rumble in the top lane and a Sylas in the mid lane, and those are 2 basically handshaky lanes. And this is something where Omega Gaming need to know their win condition, which is their bottom lane, and it just seems like they didn't play it.
And just to put my 2 cents in here, Akuma Katanas are going to be one of the better teams in these last 2 weeks as well. Akuma Katanas are coming in. I've seen them play in different leagues as well. I think they are much, much better than the Halberds, in my opinion. And I have high hopes for this team, even though they're 1-3 right now because they adopted the 0-3 from Halberds. I think they're gonna come in and maybe win out. So I have high hopes for this team right here.
If they want to make the playoffs, they will need to win out.
Lucky.
Yeah, they will need to win out. They will need to get lucky. Conviction or Omega Gaming will have to drop a game in their last 2 weeks, and I believe that is not possible here because Omega Gaming and Conviction will not actually face each other. So
yes, they will next week. They do.
Yeah, next week.
Conviction and they do. Excuse me. So yeah, if I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. If the Katanas went out, they actually do have the shot at getting at least a tiebreaker for that second place position because Omega Gaming and Conviction will at least have 1 loss. Now they'll need one of the 2 to drop. they'll have the opportunity because the Katanas will face off against Conviction in week 6. So if Conviction lose against Omega Gaming and they lose in week 6, all of a sudden the Katanas are now in the playoffs, or at least tiebreaker for playoffs.
Yeah, and
I'm super excited for that game. Yeah.
Right. Let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
So the Katanas, they're what's the best way to describe this? So they're 1-3, right? Let's assume they beat Aquinas Esports. I don't think that's a stretch. So let's say that they do go up. So they're either relying on Omega Gaming Silence or Conviction to lose to Aquinas, right? That's really what this all comes down to. They need one of those teams to drop to Aquinas. They need Aquinas to pick up a victory in the last 2 weeks.
Well,
it doesn't necessarily matter who, but here's where it gets interesting. The team that Aquinas beats, which let me look. Okay, it can only be Omega Gaming. So basically, whoever wins between Conviction and Omega Gaming is out, right? Out of reach. They're out of reach. So you can no longer get first seed. That is just a foregone conclusion. Unless both these, there's no way for them to tie. So yeah, you need one of them to lose. So basically, yeah, if you're an Akuma fan, it's time to throw one of these and hope some wild stuff goes your way here. And either Conviction goes 0-2 in the last 2 weeks, or Omega Gaming Silence goes 0-2. And it doesn't actually matter which one. You just need one of them to help you out.
Well, and that's the crucial thing here. So we're gonna go ahead and start jumping into our divisions as we've covered all of week 4 matchups. Here is actually how the Katanas make the playoffs. They beat Aquinas, which puts them at 2-3, and then they beat Conviction, which puts them at 3-3. Conviction has to also lose to Omega Gaming Silence. What that does is that puts Conviction at 3-3 and the Katanas at 3-3 in a head-to-head tiebreaker situation, as Conviction have the previous victory over the Claymores, which the Katanas adopted their record. So the Katanas have to win out, and Conviction have to lose next week. And that is how they
work. Yeah.
That is how they at least tie up. Now, it also can work if Aquinas can beat Omega Gaming Silence and Conviction can beat Omega Gaming Silence, but I think if you're a Katanas fan, you're gonna their fate is in their hands basically, and that is going to be the easier route for the Katanas to make the tiebreaker.
No, their fate's out of their hands, right? Because their fate's in their hands if Conviction loses to Omega Gaming. Then it does kind of come down to whether the Katanas can beat Conviction or not. But if Conviction beats Omega Gaming, you can't. Even if you beat Conviction, they'll still have you in game record. And then Omega Gaming Silence beats Aquinas, then you're just out of it, even if you do beat Conviction.
Well, the Katanas still have to beat Aqualix, or excuse me, not Aqualix, Aquinas. Yeah, no, the Katanas still have to beat Aquinas. So that is where their fate lies in their hands. If they don't win next week, they're out. If they do win, then they have to rely on whoever loses the other matchup to lose in week 4. So if you're the Katanas in week 6, excuse me. So if you're the Katanas, you have to focus on this week's game. You have to win this week's game in order to even have a hope at making playoffs.
And on the other side, you have Aquinas is actually able to make it as well if they beat Akuma, and then Omega loses to Conviction, and then they beat Omega. So that could also happen, but that's just a lot harder.
Yeah. Aquinas again needs to win out and also make sure that either if they actually
Omega
want they want Omega to lose, but they also need to beat Conviction to have it's the same kind of tiebreaker situation. Basically, both teams, Aquinas and Katanas, both need to win. They both need to win out and have a key loss happen in week 6 or week 5. It's a spicy Division 4. This is one of the craziest endings to the season that we could see. Division 4 it's still up in the air. It's by no, especially because Omega and Conviction play next week. It is by no means a lock for either one of these teams, and I am so excited to see how everything breaks down.
Yeah, but even with that, I mean, there's still just a lot of things that need to go their way here. So, do you want to start with Division 4 and we can work our way down, actually? I mean, if you just want to stay on this group.
Yeah, well, we can work back our way from Division 4 because Omega and Conviction, they both they have the upper hand. 3-1. Whoever loses needs to win in week 6. You win week 5, you're in. That's pretty much where both of these teams stand. You need to win one of your last 2 to get in. It's simple enough for Conviction and Omega Gaming Silence. The ball is in their court. They just have to win one game to make playoffs. There's really, at least for them, there's not a whole lot else that can go wrong if they win.
Yeah, and so if you want to, just talk about Conviction for the next 2 weeks over in Division 4. So, right, they have Omega Gaming Silence. Now, they've already lost to Omega Gaming Silence this, this split. But the thing is, in both of those games, Conviction looked better than Omega Gaming Silence for about 80% of that. Now, if you're the Katanas, you want Conviction to lose this, right? Because then you want to have your fate literally in your own hands so that you don't have to rely on some janky stuff to go down. But Conviction, I do think, are the favorites into Omega Gaming Silence, even after 0-2'd by them, because honestly, they should have won both of those games. There is just some really bizarre decision-making that happened after the 25-minute mark that allowed Omega Gaming Silence to kind of get away with what I consider to be kind of murder here, right? So that's bad if you're the Katanas. I do think, at least, prediction-wise, that Conviction, or I guess odds-wise, Conviction are probably going to win this game against Omega.
And in my opinion, coming in here, Division 4 is going to be Omega in first place and Akuma in second place. Conviction, was good seeing you guys, but I'm sorry. Yeah, I just don't have that much belief.
All right, so that actually steps into what I was going to say next is let's see who's going to make it out. So, Ibram, you say it's going to be Conviction in first and the Katanas
No.
Or, I'm sorry.
Omega in first and Katanas in second.
Okay, all right. And then
I
JuiceBox.
I think Conviction are going to get away with first. And I think Omega Gaming Silence are going to beat Aquinas in week 6 and come away with second.
Okay, so you've got Conviction in first and Aquinas in second? Or sorry,
Omega Gaming Silence in second.
Omega in second.
Okay. All right. So personally, I'm on the Katanas train after seeing how they handled Omega Gaming Silence.
On the train, baby.
So I'm gonna say it's Omega Gaming in first, and then I'm gonna say it's gonna be the Katanas taking second, and that's Ibram. You had the same, right?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. This is why they call it a Cinderella story. Right? It's because a lot of things got to go right in order for it to happen. And
I don't think a lot of things. It's just like Omega needs to win against Conviction again. That's it. Like, and then Katana just has to win their games, which I believe they will do.
Yeah, but
it's not
basically,
that far-fetched.
What you're saying is, so the Katanas need to go probably 4-0 if they want to get, to the tiebreaker. Because remember, individual games do matter as well. So even if they do beat Conviction, if they lose to Conviction or if they beat Conviction in 2-1 fashion, the Conviction still has the head-to-head.
Yeah. They need to win it out in 2-0. I just think it's doable. Coming in after what they did to Omega, and I think Katanas, I have pretty high hopes in them. I think they're one of the best teams that will be ready for playoffs. I I just really think they'll do it.
Okay, let me put it this way. So, Aqualix Gaming is the best team in the league, in my opinion. They still dropped the game. They dropped the game in their second week to Glaive, right? Glaive is a good team. I don't think Glaive is better than Conviction or Omega Gaming Silence.
No. That is blasphemy. Glaive is better than Conviction and Omega Gaming Silence.
I gotta disagree with you there, but
that is blasphemy.
All right. We're
yeah, we're
I love you guys. Yeah,
tangent here.
and this is that kind of matchup wouldn't even happen until we hit playoffs, maybe. So let's table this for the moment.
No, hold on. Let me finish my point.
Okay, yeah.
So if I think Conviction is better, if Conviction and Omega Gaming is better than Glaive, which I personally do, then I think, and I don't think Katanas are as good as Aqualix's, which at the moment I don't, although to be honest, I could be swayed on that opinion after this upcoming week. Then it just goes from a purely logical standpoint that Conviction or Omega Gaming can take a game off the Katanas, right? Now, if Conviction 2-0 Omega Gaming Silence is done. If Omega Gaming Silence can beat Aquinas, it's done. I think both those possibilities are pretty likely. I would say that in order for both of those to happen, you don't even have to get out into, below 50% odds. So that being said, I think while Katanas might be the best team in this league, it's, they just came into this way too late.
I don't think they're the best team in the league. I think they're one of the better teams.
In the division is what I meant.
Oh, in the division, yes. In the division, I think they are. But I don't know. You're doing some nasty math work right now. It's too early for this, my guy.
Yeah, man. Sorry, dude. 6:44 p.m. at night. Yeah, too early to.
It's too early for math, but we'll keep an eye on Division 4 because if I do want to see if the Katana's 2-0 Aquinas, which is quite possible, I want to see some kind of bet happen between the two of you for week number 6 to see who's going to make the playoffs. This would be.
I got it. I'll do it.
This would be a spicy bet.
I'm gonna take you on in this one.
All right. So keep an eye on Division 4 here in the Divine League. Let's go back now to Division 3 and kind of touch on the same things here. Lost Collective are mathematically out of playoffs, I believe.
Rest in peace.
It is super unfortunate for the Collective. They looked like they were okay. Being able to take a game off of each of these other teams is great, but they need to be able to actually win. And they have Soulbound Mirage coming up this week, and that's just probably not going to happen. Soulbound Mirage are 4-0. A win this week will secure first place in their division. There's still an opportunity for Glacial and the Claymores to have that tiebreaker for first place. But Soulbound Mirage, I'm pretty sure have playoffs at least locked in.
They do. They have playoffs locked in either first or second because they pretty much have complete control over that matchup against Glacial. So if they do have the same record as Glacial Esports, it is just gonna simply go to Soulbound. So Soulbound is at least second place in this division.
Yeah. Now let's take a look here at both Glacial and the Akuma Claymores and their paths to playoffs. The Claymores, let's see, they do have the head-to-head. They do have the head-to-head over Glacial so far by beating them in week number 2. Was it 2-1? Now, if they don't get 2-0'd this week by Glacial, then Akuma have second place or have playoffs locked in. If they do get 2-1, now I believe we're in some really weird tiebreaker scenarios because if they both end 3-3, but their head-to-head record is the same at 2-1, now we get really deep into the tiebreaker scenarios.
I think coming out of this, I think Glacial is going to be able to win their game against Claymores again. I think Glacial is going to be able to step right into that playoff spot, that second spot with Soulbound. So with that, they're gonna just have to win against Claymores, and then they're gonna have to pretty much, I believe, just win against Lost Collective? Or do they even need to do that? Because Claymores are playing Soulbound in that last week, and that's pretty rough. So, coming in with the same record as Claymores, but Claymores haven't played Soulbound yet, that's where I think Glacial will be able to go on and get that second place.
Yeah, this is tough. This is a really hard one to, you know, imagine what's gonna happen here. I feel like the Claymores just have a lot of really small issues that Glacial doesn't, or like they also have those same issues, but they're not as, I guess, bad with those issues as the Claymores can be. So I'm gonna say it's probably gonna be a sad split for Akuma in general, and I think I gotta give this one over to Glacial and Soulbound.
Okay, so Ibram, you've got Soulbound. You got Soulbound first, and then you have
Glacial second.
Glacial second, and
JuiceBox. JuiceBox is the same.
JuiceBox Guy, you're the same. Soulbound first, Glacial second. Yeah, I don't see any reason to honestly disagree with you guys. The reason being is that I mean, it is going to be very difficult for the Claymores to get out as they take on a team that they lost to in week number 2. And then in week 6, they take on Soulbound, and Soulbound has absolutely been running roughshod over this division. I don't think it's well out of the possibility that Soulbound goes 6-0 and are one of the 2 only teams to do so. I really don't see a route that the Claymores that Akuma Claymores are going to make the playoffs either. I think I'm here with you guys. There's the chance. There's the quote unquote mathematical chance that it can happen because Claymores would need to win out, so they would need to beat Glacial and Soulbound in order to make it, or at least they would need to beat Glacial and then get have some really weird tiebreaker scenarios, or just beat Soulbound, and those just don't seem they're within the realm of possibility, but they're so far away that it's going to take a minor miracle for the Akuma Claymores to make playoffs in my mind.
Yeah, hold on. I'm trying to do the math in my head. So I think technically Claymores are, in terms of total game score, which also does matter, I think they're a game ahead of Glacial. They're 5-6 if you take their entire game score. And I'm trying to figure it out with Glacial right now, but I feel like Glacial is a game behind them.
Akuma Claymores, every single one of their wins have been 2-1s, and they had a 0-2 loss against Soulbounds and a 1-2 loss against Glacial. So, pretty much what, if we say this correctly, they've won 2 games. That's 4, and then one more against.
They're 5 and
one more against Glacial.
They're 5-6.
They're
5, yeah.
Yeah. So it is a hard roll to climb for the Claymores to make it to playoffs, and yeah. I think that Glacial, they just look like the better team by a narrow margin. So yeah. I think being in consensus here for Soulbound first and Glacial second in Division 3, I don't think that's too much of a stretch to say those are going to happen.
I think we'll be in consensus for Division 2 as well.
Yeah, I think so. As we make our way over to Division 2, it's Aqualix in first at 4-0, Glaive Amethyst at 3-1, Striking Vipers at 1-3, Northwood at 0-4, and yeah, I think there's the far outside chance that Striking Vipers make it if they win out, because they would have to they most likely will beat Northwood, but then they'd have to beat Glaive, and Glaive would have to Glaive do take on Aqualix. They have the opportunity. They have the chance to lose that one, but then they face Northwood, and that one should be a secure win for Glaive.
No, Glaive faces Striking Viper High Table in week 6, and
excuse me.
Wallix in week 5.
Yeah, excuse me. So
there's still a chance for Striking Vipers to definitely come out. They're playing Northwoods. That should be a win for them. We're kind of expecting that. I'm sorry, Northwoods. I heard you guys have a great Rocket League team, but it's not looking good in League of Legends right now. But yeah, they should be able to win that game against Northwood.
Well,
and then coming in, they played Glaive at that last one. That should be the decider. Whoever wins that should be able to go.
It actually really will be. If you think about this, because in Division 2, these are going to be two. We're looking at one-sided matches. Aqualix and Glaive. Aqualix should win. They beat Glaive 2-1 in week number 2, and they've not dropped a game the rest of the season. Striking Vipers should beat Northwood 2-0. I'd be willing to say. And if that happens and Striking Vipers can somehow 2-0 Glaive, they can make it into playoffs over Glaive Amethyst. I don't see that happening. As Glaive.
Oh, so you see the Katanas getting in, but you can't picture the Striking Vipers.
I can't. Well, the reason being is the Katanas. They're a newer team, and they just took down probably one of the top teams in their division.
They're not newer, actually. Them coming in, they've been around.
Okay.
The Katanas have been around. If you especially look at their names as well, they all have the AKM. Like they're making sure that they're respected here.
I mean, at least in the league, they're the newer team in the league. That being said, these are established teams here in this division. They've been in the league the entire season, outside of Northwood.
And Striking Vipers came in to replace Mad after week 2.
Okay, that's right. That is right. But so in that case, actually, because that was Mad that took on.
Glaive.
It was Striking Vipers that took on Glaive. So there's a chance that the Striking Vipers can watch the tape from week number 3. Maybe because we are on a different patch, so maybe the meta suits them a bit better. Maybe there's a shot, but they would probably have to 2-0 Glaive, because I believe Glaive probably has them on total.
No, they only had that 2-1. They had a close series against Glaive. That's why I'm saying I'm actually gonna come out and say it. I think Striking Vipers will be the second team to come out. They'll actually beat Glaive there. Even though I have so much hope in Glaive, I have that much hope in Striking Vipers as well.
Okay, all right. So Ebram coming out with the Qualix in first, and Striking Vipers going second.
Seconds, yeah.
Okay.
And by the way, Striking Vipers is not the team that replaced Mads. It was Northwood. Northwood is the team that replaced.
Yes.
So then they replaced Dark Pulse?
No. Who replaced Dark Pulse? I have no clue. It was before the first game. I think it was before the first game.
No, it was after the first week.
Was it?
Dark Pulse played the first week, and then they dropped out.
Okay, you might be correct then. Because I know Mad City was not replaced by Dark Pulse.
Mad City.
They were replaced by Northwood.
Yes, because we did cover that week 1, and I remember that.
Yeah, I'm gonna come out and say it. I believe in the Striking Vipers. I believe they can come out and somehow make it to playoffs. It's gonna be tough, but I can see them winning that game.
All right, JuiceBoxGuy, what do you have for? Obviously, you have a Qualix at first. That's gonna be a given here in Division 2. But between Glaive and Striking Vipers High Table, what are you seeing?
Before I give it up to JuiceBox, I want to make my case for Striking Vipers.
Yeah.
That their last game against Glaive, that 2-1 series. Pretty much the first game was pretty close. The second game was close. The third game was close. It was all close. So I'm just saying, these two teams are pretty close to each other. They had 2 35-minute games, but then Glaive kind of came in that last game and kind of took control. But I still think they're able to do it.
Okay, so here's the issue. While I actually do agree with you, I think Striking Vipers is the better team here. I don't think it's, and maybe they're not, but I think that they, if not, it's such a small difference between Glaive. Here's what the real issue is for the Striking Vipers. So through no fault of their own, they're at a 3-6 record in total game score, whereas Glaive is at a 7-5 total record. And that matters. That actually does come into effect here.
It does.
So if they're at 3-6 and they go 4-0, they get to 7-6. So that means not only do they need Glaive to lose both of their next 2 games, which yes, I agree they will lose to Aqualix. They need them to lose it in 0-4 fashion to have a tiebreaker. So when you're
Do that
relying,
against the Qualix, but you know what? I think just with that, you won me over. I'm gonna give it to Glaive. I'm sorry, Striking Vipers. I believed in you for like 2 minutes.
Well, and I actually I would actually be more, I guess it would be closer to my opinion if Striking Vipers beat Glaive, but it doesn't matter because Glaive just needs a single game in the last 2 weeks to avoid a tiebreaker.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's going to be a Qualix 1, Glaive 2, and it's purely based off that math it's too early for.
Yeah.
I was about to say as well, like when you said that you think Striking Vipers is the better team than Glaive, I actually, even when I was thinking Striking Vipers, I still thought Glaive was the better team. I just think the Striking Vipers have the better chance. But I don't know. This is rough.
Yeah.
Can we come back to the next podcast who's coming out in second place?
Yeah, well, and it even gets worse for Striking Vipers because they can't drop a single game. And while, Northwood University hasn't taken a game yet, it's not like they are totally in over their heads. Like, yeah, they've been beaten in okay fashion by every single team so far, but they literally need to pick up 1 game against Striking Vipers, right? That's not crazy. Things can go wrong. It's League of Legends. So, yeah, I just think that it's too hard for the Striking Vipers, and the window of opportunity is so narrow. If I'm not going to give it to the freaking Katanas, I'm definitely not going to give it to Striking Vipers. So I think it's going to be a Qualix 1, Glaive 2.
Yeah, as much as I like the Katana's chance in Division 4, I'm not as high on the Striking Vipers myself, unfortunately. Yes, their series against Glaive was close. And yes, I think there might be the chance that they could take Glaive, but it would be in a 2-1 situation. I think... Hang on.
But I was just going to say, but that's also... But that's also the issue with the Katanas, is they're coming in with a 2-6 record.
Yeah, and
it's rough,
yeah.
So they need to go 4-0. Not only that, they need to go 4-0 against Conviction, which even though they're a middle of the table team in their division, they're still one of the better teams, in my opinion. So they need to 2-0 them. They need to 2-0 Omega Gaming, or they need Conviction not to pick up a single win against Omega Gaming Silence or them, and then they get their tiebreaker. It's the same scenario. Just scale up the talent of the underdog is really all it is. And that's my same reasoning there is going to come over here, where it's just so unlikely.
Yeah, and that's, for me at least, that's why I think the talent of the Katanas gives them that opportunity. I think the Striking Vipers, while they're a good team, I don't think their talent matches up to the Akuma Katanas. I don't think they'd be able to take down Glaive Amethyst and not drop a game. So yeah, I've got Glaive Amethyst second and Aqualix Esports first as well. So
right,
that was a hefty debate on Division 2, and we're about to have another hefty debate as we move back to Division 1, because this division is still very open. There is still a shot at all 4 teams making playoffs. Even though Indiana University is 1-3, there's still the opportunity that they can go 3-3, get some key losses, and have the opportunity to make it to second place. But as as much IU is my family school. I've had many of my family members go to and graduate from IU. I I don't see it happening with the style of play that they have. The other teams in this division are more aggressive early on and punish early games better than IU can stall out to let their scaling compositions come into play. So I don't think IU's got the shot. I think
Yeah.
I think
Hey,
World Class takes on IU. If IU loses, they're out. World Class wins, they're secured playoffs here in Week 5. And I think World Class is gonna take this Division 1, but it's also gonna be this Week 5 is also gonna help determine Manitoba and Gothboy.
Right. You guys are ready for a spicy take?
All right,
You guys are ready for this?
Okay.
Are you predicting the Bisons and Gothboy to get out? Because if you are,
No,
you're
no,
a madman.
Let me give you a spicy take.
Okay,
I'm
all
gonna
right.
say that Gothboy Click are gonna win their game against Manitoba, and then they're gonna beat World Class, and then it's gonna be Gothboy first, Gothboy first, World Class second.
Oh, that is a pretty spicy take.
What are you thinking, Juicebox?
I think I disagree with you. All right, here's the issue, in my opinion. I think that they probably have the best teamwork in this division, and I think that that's why they look so good, right? I mean, you can be as good as you want at the game, but as long as those skill gaps aren't out of reach, teamwork's going to win you those games. But that being said, I think that they probably, if you rank them all first place, like mid laner, for instance, to fourth place mid laner, and so on and so forth, in this division, I have to say, I think that they have all third or fourth players. I don't think any of their players are like the best in their positions. And
you mean Gothboy?
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
spicy, man.
But
I know, yeah. I'm kind of going the complete opposite direction here. I think that, yeah, I agree. Indiana University, not a chance. I mean, they have so many things that need to work out for them, and they're also in that same boat of having all like the third, the fourth best players. So I think that that's probably a foregone conclusion. The thing is, I was a world-class hater off the first week against Manitoba Bisons because I thought they performed terribly, which, for the record, they did. But they really have picked it up. Week 2, they looked really shaky against Indiana University. Week 3, they looked a lot better against Gothboy Click, where they 2-0'd them. By the way, Ebron, they 2-0'd Gothboy Click.
True.
Then Week 4, they looked really good where they 2-0'd Manitoba Bison. So I honestly think World Class is going 5-1. And then on top of that, so basically what Manitoba needs is they need to beat Gothboy Click, and then they need to beat Indiana University to get ahead of Gothboy Click. But if Gothboy Click beats Manitoba, right? That's not crazy. I honestly wouldn't be surprised by that. Then they also have to beat World Class to not have... Oh, wait, never mind. They have the head-to-head. Yeah, okay. It's getting real hard to root for my own team right now.
I already made my predictions, man.
Right, yeah.
Gothboy Click in first, World Class in second.
I just think that the players on Manitoba Bisons are better than the Gothboy Click players, but it's hard. Even though I do think that Manitoba Bisons are better, it's just so hard to ignore the glaring weakness in their early game. And
Let me sell you on one single point.
Yeah, I think
point.
I might already be sold.
Let me just sell you on one single point. I'm gonna sell you on the point that Indiana University is one of the best spoilers out of every single one of these divisions. This team, I genuinely think they're gonna come in and cause some mayhem in these last 2 weeks.
Okay, that's never gonna get me to Boy Click coming in
You
first.
really
But
don't
that was
think
a good
so?
try. I don't
Ooh.
think so. I think that's kind of crazy. But I do actually think I'm gonna side with you here and say World Class and Goth Boy are getting out, but World Class 1, Goth Boy 2.
Yeah, and I think that actually I'm with you there, JuiceBoxGuy. I think I'm pretty assured. I am like 95% solid that World Class is gonna get first place. They just have to beat IU, which they did do in week number 2, and they've looked even better.
2-1.
It was 2-1,
They look way better.
but they look way better than they did in week number 2. So I think World Class is gonna get first. I think Goth Boy. For me, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts for Goth Boy Click. I think individually they're not the best in this division, but I think as a team they know how to play the macro game well enough that they can work around their individual mechanical flaws or their micro flaws and play the macro game that can allow them to move around the map, take the objectives that they need to, and be able to win through that old C9 style of not taking a lot of fights, but taking the objectives and moving around the map and making it so hard for the other team to be able to do anything as you smother them out with your rotations and vision and objective control. So I think it's still going to be World Class 1, and I agree with JuiceBox. Yeah, I think it's going to be Goth Boy Click in second place. I don't think the fact that we're all agreeing that Goth Boy Click and World Class are going to make it out is definitely something to think about. The only disagreements that we actually have had in terms of teams making it out has been in that Division 4 with JuiceBoxGuy going Conviction first and Omega Gaming Silence second. Otherwise, Ibram and I both say that the Katanas and OGS are going to make it out. This is as spicy as these groups can get, we really are starting to see how these teams shake out and how they actually play and what they stand up against.
Yeah, for sure. Do you want to predict the games for next week and then rapid fire?
That I was actually just about to say that since we've kind of basically done the breakdown anyway. We'll go ahead and rapid fire who we think is gonna win, and that's gonna be all right. So, Goth Boy Click in Manitoba. Who's Ibram?
Right, now remember, let's not debate this too much.
Right.
So
just
that,
give me.
this isn't a 2-hour.
Give me your numbers.
Goth Boy 2-1.
Okay, so Goth Boy 2-1 for Ibram. And then JuiceBoxGuy is gonna be Goth Boy
2-0.
Goth Boy 2-0, and I'm gonna go Goth Boy 2. I'm gonna go Goth Boy 2-0 as well. All right, so we've all got Goth Boy winning in week number 5. IU versus World Class.
All right, IU 2-1.
Yeah, whatever.
Is that legit? IU 2-1.
That's legit. I genuinely think IU is gonna come in and cause mayhem in the last 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, you want to put a bet on that one?
No. That's not the one we bet on. All right, buddy.
All right,
JuiceBoxGuy.
2-0.
Yeah, I'm gonna go World Class 2-0 as well. All right. Let's see. That is now on to division number 2. Aqualix and Glaive. JuiceBoxGuy.
Aqualix. I think it should be a 2-0.
Okay. Ibram.
Aqualix 2-1. I think Glaive takes a second game off of Aqualix. They've done it week 2. They can do it again.
Yeah, I agree with you, Ibram. I think it's going to be a 2-1 for Aqualix. I think Glaive takes game number 1 or game number 2. All right, let's move on to Northwood and Striking Vipers. JuiceBox.
Vipers 2-0.
Ibram.
Vipers 2-0.
Yep, I'm all aboard the 2-0 train here. Easy enough. Now let's go Lost Collective and Soulbound Mirage. JuiceBoxGuy.
You know, it's funny when it comes to this specific matchup Because Lost Collective should at least be competitive.
They're scary, man.
I'm gonna say, now that they're screwed, Lost Collective 2-1.
Oh, all right. That is super spicy. All right, Ibram?
Soulbound 2-0. I think Soulbound is coming in demolishing. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm good.
I love Lost Collective, but this is not the one for them.
So I'm going to go Soulbound 2-1 over Collective.
Yeah, that's the most normal.
Yeah, I think the Collective can take a game, but yeah, I don't think they're going to take the series. All right, next up, Glacial Esports and Akuma Claymores. Ibram.
Glacial 2-1.
JuiceBox?
Yeah, Glacial 2-1.
Yep. I'm going to deviate from the norm a little bit. I'm going to say Glacial 2-0 over the Claymores.
Ooh.
I'm going to deviate from the norm, just a hair.
I think Claymore is going to win the first game, and then they just lose the next two.
That's kind of how I look at it, too, honestly.
All right, so Katanas and Aquinas Esports. JuiceBoxGuy.
All right, is it time for Aquinas to play the ultimate spoiler to your guys'
No, it's not.
Katanas 2-0.
Okay, Ibram?
Alright, and I think we should be streaming this game as well. Katana's 2-0.
Yeah, and I'm on board with that, with the 2-0 train as well. I think the Katanas are gonna look good. I think they're gonna come out and really surprise some teams here. Last but not least, Conviction and Omega Gaming Silence, which is gonna be another massive banger of a game. Ibram.
This is probably the most important game in week 5.
No, it's not.
I want to prove how wrong you guys are.
No debating. Rapid fire numbers. JuiceBox.
All right. Okay, say JuiceBox. Take it.
JuiceBoxGuy.
Conviction 2-0.
Ibram.
I'll bet on this one if he wants.
I'm
Omega 2-0. Omega 2-0. I'll bet on this one if you want.
Oh boy. Oh man, I gotta think about this. I'm gonna go Omega Gaming 2-1. I think it's a little bit more even than we give them credit for, but yeah, I think it's Omega 2-1. But those, all right. So, are we laying down a week 5 bet, gentlemen?
You know what, Joker? Since you're on the outside looking in of this Mexican standoff, why don't you lay down a bet?
Oh boy. Okay. Let's see. What can either one of you do that is going to be super embarrassing?
You know what? How about this? In honor of the Goth Boy Click, if this is interesting, you got to go full goth makeup for your week 6 game.
Yeah.
No, I'll do that.
Yeah,
full. I'll give you a whack.
So that's gonna be eyeliner, mascara, black lipstick, black nail polish.
Dude, I'll go to like my mom and be like, just hit me up.
So we've got in honor of Goth Boy Click, who we've all predicted to make it out of Division 1. We've got the Goth standoff for week number 6.
Goth standoff.
So let's clarify this. So if Conviction win, JuiceBoxGuy, you would win the bet. So Ibram would have to go Goth for week number 6.
I think you mean win. When they win.
If Omega Gaming win, doesn't matter the score line.
No, forget the score.
Forget it.
Yeah.
I don't care.
If Omega win, Ibram wins the bet, and JuiceBoxGuy goes Goth for week number 6.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Oh boy, this is gonna be a lot of fun. We've got this on video.
Dude.
Honestly, I want to see JuiceBox with mascara, dude.
I think you're gonna make a really pretty goth man. I really do. I think.
Saying.
All right. Well, we will have to tune in and find out. Tune in for week 5. Most likely, again, that Conviction Omega Gaming Silence will be streamed, and we will have the results in the week, the podcast covering week number 6. And we'll get to see who's gonna go goth for week number 6. Before we wrap it up here, gentlemen, is there anything else y'all would like to say before we give our goodbyes? Let's go with Ebrom first. Anything else you want to say? Anything you want to plug or pitch?
Not really. I just can't wait to see JuiceBox and Mascara, dude. That's like gonna be my hope on the 19th. That's what I'm like marking it down for.
All right, JuiceBoxGuy. Any last words from you?
Yeah, I just think it's gonna be really awesome to watch Ebrom really revisit his middle school scene phase.
Middle school? I had an afro in middle school, I'll tell you that right now.
An afro to pair up with that sweet, sweet black guy liner.
I can't bring back the afro though. That's gonna take a while.
Yeah, nah, I won't hold you to that one.
All right, and yeah, do you guys want to go ahead and pitch your Twitters or Twitch streams or anything else like that before we say goodnight?
On Ebrom 101. I guess I'll post pictures there when JuiceBox goes and puts on the mascara, dude.
JuiceBox?
JuiceBoxGuy 3. And same to you, kiddo.
Yeah. And I'm JokerCast on both Twitter and Twitch, and it's been a pleasure breaking down week number 4. I look forward to week number 5 and seeing who's gonna go goth. Either way, everybody wins because we get to see. Yes, everybody else wins.
Everybody else.
One of you loses, everybody else wins, and that's a victory in my book. So for Ebrom, for JuiceBoxGuy, my name is Joker. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to the Risen Divine League podcast, and tune in to both the Excellency Esports and Risen streams for the action of week number 5 as we get even closer to playoffs.